All right, so it looks like we're. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. The camera's not set up right. There we go.
Hello.
So let me.
Hello.
It looks like. It looks like.
The royal we.
I like the way the red is shining on your face. It looks like a pink guy. So welcome to Jeremiah Creek, formerly the Beat Cup's Guide.
Formerly Perfectly Harmless Radio, formerly the Dave and Chris Show.
And I am Dave, and that's Chris, or Bull, as some people like to call him. Bullshit, as I like to call him.
This shit is silent.
Bull at Scarlington.
This shit is silent.
What is your middle initial?
P.
Oh. For Pedro?
I wish. I wish it was anything but Paul.
Oh, yeah.
I hate the name Paul. The only name worse than Paul is Todd. Todd is a terrible name.
Or Kevin.
Kevin's, you can work with Kevin, you know, but Todd, that guy's going to be a dick no matter what. Yeah. And Paul, that
Nick
guy's...
is a cool name.
What is?
Nick.
Yeah, Nick's like a...
Tough name.
Yeah, no matter what, who Nick is, he's always going to be amiable and...
Nate's a great name.
He'll have your back in a fight. Nate is, you said?
Yeah. Today's my son Nate's birthday.
Happy birthday, Nate.
28 years old.
Damn.
I know we're getting old, right?
Ah, God, man. It's just hard to... Seems like only yesterday they were peeing in their pants.
Well, actually, that was yesterday. I had a little too much to drink.
And me too. Doing it now, actually.
You know what? I just watched, right before you got here, a video. I was watching TikTok. And there was, I always get these movie scenes, little clips from movies, which I always like. And there's one movie that I like called Law Abiding Citizen with this, it's with Jamie Foxx and this other guy that I like.
Never heard of it.
Oh, you like it. It's a good crime thing. This guy's family gets killed, and he decides to take, because the Justice Department is involved, and he takes vengeance on the killer. Kidnapping him, he doesn't realize who he is. Kidnaps him and takes him to this I don't know, industrial area in the middle, and it's all planned. But so on this clip, he's holding a gun, and he's the killer is holding a gun, and he's cursing at the guy, and then it all turns around. But my point is, I was watching this video. The swearing on TikTok, perfectly fine. You can hear them. They're not beeped. It's not. But the gun in the guy's hand is blurred out.
That's so cool.
And I'm like, why is that? I know YouTube has been, anytime you see a gun or whatever, they demonetize it. If you're talking about a shooting or something like that. Like you get these lawyers that are talking about shooting. I listen to this lawyer, Andrew Branca, who talks about self-defense. And whenever he does videos, if there's a video of the shooting, he shows it and then talks about whether or not it was a legitimate use of force or whatever. And they demonetize him every time he shows it. He shows shootings and stuff on YouTube. And I'm like, I know YouTube has it, but I never heard of TikTok doing that. I mean, what do the Chinese care if we shoot each other? So, anyway, just interesting. I saw it.
You think they just make the gun bigger and louder?
Or if they were trying to, make it G-rated, they beep out the cursing, too. I can see if...
Yeah, I think a lot of other countries really don't consider cursing a big deal.
Yeah, it just seems weird that you're going to... I can see him editing out both. I can see him editing out none. I can't see him editing out one and not the other.
No, I really think that the rest of the world views our obsession with guns and anyone's obsession with guns as much more vulgar than language. Most countries don't have a problem with cursing or nudity or anything like that. When I was in 1982, when I went to England, I got the daily paper. First day I was there.
Page 3?
Yeah, page 6.
Whatever. I used to be in Bermuda. We used to get it every day.
Yeah, page 6. It's usually a naked girl, right there in the paper.
Yeah.
And we're 12-year-olds could look at it, and then on their TV shows, cursing.
Well, you know what? I saw a show.
It's British cursing though, so it's literary.
I saw a show on. I think it's on Hulu. I can't remember one of my sites. It's called Naked Attraction,
Oh, I already like it.
and it's a dating show. It's a dating reality show,
And they're naked.
and they're naked.
Oh my god! I tried to watch it and I couldn't watch it, dude.
I watched the first 5 minutes of the first episode. I'm like, if my wife sees me watching this, I'm gonna have some serious problems.
They had a lot of explaining to do.
Yeah, the first 10 minutes of the first episode. So it's English, I
Right.
believe, and they have this black English woman, very pretty, and she's talking about herself and the guy she likes. Then they bring her onto the stage, and they have these guys behind colored glass. It's opaque.
Yeah, it's like a tall cubicle.
Yeah, like a changing room or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the opaqueness on the bottom half what goes, and you have these naked guys with their wing nuts hanging out, and these two women are discussing the differences.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy, what the fuck is this?
I know.
I probably would have stuck with it if it was women, but you know, I don't want to see guys.
Women, how do you see the difference unless...
Other than the fact that these guys are out there on
Yeah.
stage, proudly showing off themselves, and I'm like, you know what? I actually, I stood up pretty well. I mean, you know, I'm fat, so you can't really see it as well, but you know, size-wise, I'm okay.
You'd be okay on that show?
You know,
Here's my question, man. What's the makeup department like? Because you know that they got to prep that stuff. If it's going to be on camera, all right, they got to prep it. So is there? Oh my God! Now I want to call them and find out.
They weren't like aroused.
I know, but they're still there. So there's some like trimming. All right, there's probably like
Apparently,
makeup.
They right before I turned it off, they started discussing the trimming or shaving thereof, and why men do that, and whether this woman apparently didn't care for it, or didn't understand why guys do that. And that's right. I was like, all right, this is enough for me.
Yeah, that's a little much.
But I mean, I've heard of manscaping, but you know,
My question is, how far do they take this show?
I had my ears waxed the last time I got a haircut.
Really?
Yeah.
How'd you like that?
It was painful, but I have to say it annoys me that there's hair growing out of my ears, and I wear hearing aids. So it literally, when she brought it up, I'm like, oh, that might help.
Yeah.
So give it a shot, but it hurt. I've never done it.
Yeah, I
before.
keep up with that stuff because I don't want to have to wax them.
And then she's like, "Do you want me to wax your nose too?" I'm like, "Hell, fucking
Yeah,
no,
why
I
don't you
don't
fuck
fucking
off,
do my
lady?"
nose.
Yeah, I had somebody. I thread my eyebrows one time, and halfway through, I'm like, "If you come near me with that thing again, I'll punch you in the dick, man. You back up." And he's like, "Yeah, but you got to get." I'm like, "Fuck off, man. That hurts."
Yeah.
Fucking weird stuff. I had to finally trim my eyebrows the other day, and I'm kind of disappointed.
Well, I get my eyebrows trimmed every time I get a haircut.
Yeah, I mean, I do too,
But I
but
don't thread them or wax them or anything.
my eyebrow hair grows so fast.
I have two of my eyebrows hair grow really fast, which amuses the shit out of my wife. She tries to pull it out. I mean, sometimes, like, I get my hair cut or my beard trimmed once a month or so. And in that month, sometimes I'll get these flyaway hairs that grow down and get caught in my glasses.
That's because you take your glasses off and pull a hair out. That's wincible.
Yeah.
That's wincibility right there.
Brings tears to your eyes.
Now, when I trimmed my eyebrows the other day because I had to take a picture. I trimmed my eyebrows, and when I combed them straight up, the length from the trim point at the longest point of my eyebrows was 1.5 inches.
You comb your eyebrow hairs?
I had to comb them up so I could trim them.
Why don't you just get? You don't have clippers with like a little guard on them, so you just.
No, I don't have a makeup department in my house, Dave, but my wife probably has that, but I would never even thought about it. I just comb them up and use the.
Well, you're never going to get them even that way.
What do you mean?
Your eyebrows, they don't go straight. So if you comb them up, you curl them. You're going to screw them up. You get the clippers. This is the kind of talk that.
Yes. We're both nude right now, by the way. Now, okay. First of all, I can contour. All right, I'm not using like shears. I'm using a little thing of like nose hair clippers or whatever.
Where do you get those from?
They were laying on the counter. I don't know. I don't have accessories or anything.
How do you? Well, I mean, granted, I've always had a beard and mustache, so I've always had clippers. But that's how I trim my nose hair too. Otherwise, it's painful. You have to get the little nose hair trimmer. You clip on your clippers and it spins. And
yeah. I should probably get that.
That doesn't hurt at all.
Yeah. I use a razor.
I knew a guy one time. All right, this is getting. We're going way down.
Next up on Jeremiah Creek, knitting.
I used to know a guy one time who he had a mustache. He was a policeman and he had the old cop stash and shit. But he apparently never trimmed his nose hairs. And
oh man,
it was then part of his nose. And I'm like, aren't you married? I didn't say it to him, but I'm thinking to myself, doesn't your wife go, hey, you can't walk out of the house like that? My wife checks to make sure my shirt's buttoned properly.
I'm having a moment right now because that's so gross. It's just so wrong in so many ways.
Speaking of that, I was out. I went out. Thankfully, I was only doing guy stuff. I was getting some wood for my woodworking stuff.
Wood. Pulled it right out of the engine with a dead deer.
And I get home, and my wife. I walk in the house, and my wife's like, "Your shirt's buttoned wrong." She's like, and at first, of course, my wife first she goes, "Where did you stop somewhere and have to rebutton your shirt?" And I'm like, well, no, of course not. I've obviously been like this the entire day. You gotta love yourself when you weigh 300 and whatever 20 pounds and 55 years old. You have no money in the bank, 3 kids and a wife, and your wife still thinks that there are women out there who you have a shot with.
That's right. That's right.
We've had this discussion before. Honey, I'm married to you because you're the only one that said yes.
I think our vows were, do you settle for this man? And I was like, do you settle for this woman? I'm like, yeah, okay, fine. We didn't say I do. We said, okay, fine. You know what bothers me is my wife doesn't think that.
Do you take...
She knows there's not a chance.
The priest said, do you take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband? She looked at the audience first. Yeah, right, I guess so.
I mean, my wife used to let me go work in a hot kitchen with Lauren Parton.
Wow.
Just me and Lauren in there. Now, I know I didn't have a chance in hell. I never even... But, I mean, come on. That's a...
Lauren is one of those...
She would stab me quick.
She's not famous, but if she was famous, she could be on somebody's 5 card. You really never had a shot with Lauren.
No, not at all.
Lauren is...
Not at all.
Lauren should be famous. I don't know why she's not.
She asked me.
I haven't seen her in years, so who knows? Maybe
she's gone corporate. She does beverage stuff in a corporation, but.
Did you ever? Do you know what I'm talking about? The card with your 5.
Are you kidding me?
From Friends?
Yeah. Let's go. Let's talk. Let's do our 5 card.
Did you ever have a 5?
I did find out you're not allowed to put your neighbor on your 5 card.
Yes, that's true.
That's a bad. Nor sisters.
Speaking of that, I had a comment.
No sisters or cousins.
What was? My wife said, if you happen to die before me, would you? What was it like? Will you visit me? And do something to let me know that you're visiting me? And I'm like, come on, if something happened to me, if I died, you'd have a boyfriend within a week and forget all about me. And she goes, I wouldn't forget about you. All right. And I'm like, and when it absolutely, and then we went on with the conversation.
That's savage.
She, I don't think she intended that to sound the way it did.
No, that was legit.
That was, and I keep thinking, one of these days I'm going to bring it up to her and be like, but it's just.
When you guys are going to run out of things to say in Tennessee pretty soon, so.
I saw a video on TikTok again about the wife talking to the husband and saying, if something happens to me, I want to make sure that you feel free to get married again. He's like, okay. And she's like...
Wrong answer.
Yeah. She's like, what do you mean? She's like, okay, yeah, no problem. And she's like, well, wait, you already think of somebody? He goes, I don't know. Kelly from down the street. And then all of a sudden the kid in the back seat goes, oh, you talking about Kelly? Oh, she's wonderful. And the wife's like, what the hell? I just think that's funny.
That's the kind of thing you should engineer just for the hell of it. All right, what's your 5? Well, let's do it like this. Well, start from the bottom.
I haven't updated it.
Start from the bottom. You tell me your 5, I'll tell you my 5. We'll work our way to number 1.
I can't remember now. I'm trying to remember. All right. Let's say we had to do 5 like now. You know what's funny too? All right. When I originally did this, one of the things my wife got pissed about is none of them look like her.
Well,
I know. I felt like I was intentionally not putting somebody that looked like her, so she
yeah.
didn't think that.
I mean,
so like one, I don't know her name.
you don't buy a shirt if you've got it at home already.
Do you ever see the movie The Gentleman?
Yeah.
With Matthew McConaughey?
Yeah.
Or his wife in that. I can't remember.
I can't remember her name.
Michelle Dockery. Michelle Dockery.
Michelle Dockery. Not on my 5. Yeah. That's your number 5.
Yeah.
All right, hang on. My number 5. My number 5 has is the girl from Bridgerton, the Indian girl from Bridgerton. I don't know her
I
name.
don't remember that movie. So,
It's a TV show. Yeah. I watched it 3 times.
Helen Mirren. Still.
That's number 4 is Helen Mirren.
Still. I mean, you know.
Helen Mirren's on my list also, but not number 4. Number 4. Okay, my number 4 is got to be. Dang, I didn't realize this was going to be
Helen
hard.
Mirren's 80 years old. You know? That's
Whatever. Age is a number, buddy.
For her.
Age is a number. Let me tell you. Absolutely.
What the hell did you buy?
Who's my 4? What?
You bought a lot of tobacco.
Yeah, I'm out. You know. So plus it's delicious. So I'm going to be here working a lot, I think. Shoot, I don't know who my number 4 is, man. Let me think for a minute.
All right. Well, let's. Well, just think of anyone who's on your 5. Don't worry about it in order.
All right.
So
Number
Helen
1
Mirren.
is Helen Mirren.
Number 1.
Number 1. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. At any time in history. Now to the beginning. Any time in history. I think she has spent, and not merely because she's pretty. She is very pretty, but there's a class thing about it. You know, I feel like I would be a classier person afterwards. It would just automatically happen. You know, Angela Joy, whatever her name is,
Jolie?
from the Queen's Gambit, whatever that chick's name is.
Oh, the chess player?
Yeah.
I don't remember her name.
God, we're terrible.
Padma Lakshmi. That was one for me.
Yeah.
All mine
No.
are foreign. I don't know why.
Yeah, that's weird, man. You get that exotic
Although
thing
she's
going
not
on.
really foreign, is she?
Well, she's a Pakistani.
Of Pakistani descent or actually Pakistani?
She's from Pakistan.
Okay.
Yeah.
You couldn't tell by her voice. She doesn't have an accent, I don't think.
It's kind of in there a little bit. Number 3 is she was in The Good Place.
Oh, Anna Torv is another one.
Damn it.
Anna Torv from...
Hey Siri, who is the star of The Good Place? Kristen Bell.
Oh. Hey, you know what? I always think of her too young.
Okay, I don't care about that. I just think that she would be a lot of fun. All right.
I've noticed lately, I don't... Yeah, I guess.
And then number 2 is obviously Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, Scarlett Johansson probably on mine too.
Yeah.
Who looks like my wife, so I don't know why.
So much. I used to. I'm not saying I picked her because she looked like your wife, but I used to mess with people when they would ask me my 5, and I would tell them that number 4 and 3 are Peter Dinklage, and I'd say it with a complete straight face. Okay, there's another 5. All right, we need to make up another 5, a different. Who do you? If your wife doesn't know what your 5 is, who does she think your 5 is?
Oh, I think she would know Scarlett Johansson's on the list.
My wife thinks that I should like. If she had to populate my 5,
That'd be interesting. We should get him on one day. Dude.
yeah, my wife always thinks that I should be attracted to Angelina Jolie. I'm not. I can't stand her, and she thinks that I should be attracted to Nicole Kidman. Cannot. She terrifies me.
You know, Meg Ryan, I would have used to be, but
I married my wife because she looked like Meg Ryan.
now she doesn't look like Meg Ryan anymore.
Well, Neither does Meg Ryan.
That's what I meant.
Oh, yeah. You know, I'm going to revise my 5, though, because I really think that Dolly Parton needs to be on there. You know?
My wife has a picture of Dolly Parton on her computer, like save screen, back when Dolly Parton was real young. Just no makeup, in jeans and a t-shirt, sitting with a guitar. She's a big Dolly Parton fan. She'd be okay with that, I think. Dolly Parton.
It's for literacy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That'd be all right.
absolutely. So we're going somewhere else for New Year's this year. I know that's really far out, and I know it's not. There's no reason for it to be a topic of conversation. I'm not sure why I said that.
Why did it come up?
I don't know.
No,
Oh, okay. Hang on. It was Dolly Parton, Grand Ole Opry, Nashville. So I think we're going to go to Nashville for New Year's.
Oh.
Anyway, that's the end of that conversation.
We what else we got going on? Oh, I have topics.
I watched this TV show last night. This new late night thing with Taylor Thomason is the host, right? This girl comedian, and I can't remember the fucking name of the show. And they played this really cool game. All right, it's a game show, but it's a late night game show. It's after Colbert and everything. And it was how many links to get from this Wikipedia entry to this Wikipedia, and they were completely. This one was the first one was Snoop Dogg, and the second one was the Great Depression. How many links to get from one to the other, right?
Wow.
And you can't. You got to link through the articles and everything. And I was like, that's a cool game. And now there's no way for us to talk about that.
I do that all the time. Rabbit hole. I'll sit and play, and go down a rabbit hole, and end up with,
Yeah. Are you learning anything when you do that?
You're learning trivia.
Yeah. I mean, my wife has always asked me, how do you know so much trivia? And I'm like, well, it's just erudition. But the truth is, it's because I get lost in Wikipedia. There was an author that used to do books like that.
I found I don't know how this came up, but I got a chance to ask one of my weirdest trivia questions that nobody believes is true. Who was the last president to run and win who was not a Democrat or a Republican?
Holy shit.
Who was not running as a Democrat or a Republican?
I don't even know.
Abraham Lincoln.
He was a Republican.
Not the second term. He ran under the National Unity Party.
Crazy. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very few people do. That's one of my funnest things.
Good Dave with the history, man. So what are you reading right now?
I just started a book.
By the way, you read more than some of the people I know who have masters in literature.
I mean, I always have a couple of books going that, like I've read before. Like I'm reading The Two Georges again, which is a book by Richard Dreyfuss. But I just started a book. Oh, I started rereading John Irving, A Prayer for Owen Meany again.
God, what a great book that is.
And
I have a problem with Irving in a lot of ways because I think that he I don't think he always enjoys what he's doing.
I met him once. He doesn't seem like he enjoys what he's doing.
Yeah, I have a problem with that part of it, but his writing is brilliant, and A Prayer for Owen Meany is one of the most underrated works of literature in American literature.
And I'm also reading the most... I can't read the subtitle. The Most Holy War. Let me find the subtitle. The Most Holy War, the Albigensian Crusade, and the Battle for Christendom. Because I started reading this because I was listening to a book on tape when I was driving somewhere of No, I'm sorry. I listened to a history podcast, and they were talking about the Da Vinci Code. It's
fucking stupid ass fucking book.
You would like this history podcast. Hold on, let me find it for you.
My history podcast is Literature and History, which is an incredible podcast.
Well, this is called The Rest is History.
That's a great title.
Yeah, and it's the world's most popular history podcast with Tom Holland and Dominic Sandbrook. They're two English historians. And so they were talking about the actual history of, it was the history of Jesus Christ. And they made a couple comments about the Da Vinci Code. Well, this is one of the books they quoted. So I'm like, oh, I'll check it out. And it was pretty interesting.
A lot of, I learned some stuff about the time of Jesus. And I was researching something at the Newberry Library, right?
Yeah.
I've told you this before, stop me. So I'm in the Newberry, and I sit down. You know, you've been to the Newberry, right?
A long time ago.
So for those of you who haven't ever been, the Newberry Library is one of the greatest libraries on earth. But it's a for real research library. You don't get the books yourself.
Yeah.
You look them up, you hand a list to the librarian, and they give you a number like at a restaurant, and you go sit at a table. And then they bring the books to you. And when you're done, you get up and leave, and eventually they come and take the books away. So I sat down on my table, and the table next to me still had some books on it. So I looked over at one, and it was Charlatans and Magicians of the whatever time Christ was alive, right? So I crack it open. First thing in it is the technology of the double amphora, all right?
The double what?
The double amphora. So it was a trick, and it was a mercantile trick that merchants at the time, when they had these big dinners, would have these amphoras that had two bladders inside of them. One had water, one had wine. And they had holes on the handle, little holes. And you put your thumb over one hole, all right? And when you poured it, it was just wine. And if you put your finger over the other hole and you pour it, it was just water. And then you could lift them all three up and you pour it, and it was a mix. And people, depending on how important they were, they got wine, a mix, or water. And I'm like, gee, during the time of Christ, huh? Imagine that. And it had a couple other things like that. And I was like, I'm starting to see a theme here. And, it talked about healers, charlatan healers. And all of them were taking care of blind people. All of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, there's a novel that I'd get killed for writing. Absolutely. If you wrote a novel and it was Jesus Christ the charlatan, oh my God, you better go into hiding immediately. But it could happen.
All right.
There's
So
no one behind me, is there? So,
No.
Well, I'm reading a Gentleman in Moscow. And I got to tell you, man, every once in a while you pick up a book and it's actual literature.
Oh, I was about to say, I just heard about that book, and I realized it was from your Facebook post.
Well, they're going to do, apparently they're doing a television series on Paramount maybe, or Peacock or something. So I'm very happy about that. But it's by this American writer called Amor Towles. And, man, it is... So there's a couple of books in, like, my personal canon, all right, that are important to me for a weird reason. And it's that the author did three things that are important to me. One is they're funny. Even if they're writing serious literature, there's humor in it, all right? Two, they love who they're writing about. I mean, they love them, all right? And three, you can tell by the way they write that they were having a fucking good time. Those three things matter to me. 100 Years of Solitude, Love at the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. That dude is having a good time. Those are funny books. Yeah. All right? They're brilliant literature, but they're also, when you read them, you know that he was having a good time. Lincoln into Bardo. You read that, right? Yeah. That dude was having a blast. Until you destroyed it in the rain.
Sorry.
That dude was having a blast when he wrote that book. And this fucking Amor Towles guy is having... I get the impression that every time he sat down to write, it was the best day of his life. It is such a good story. It is... And it's written with such incredible joy that I can't wait to read it again. It's a fantastic piece of work, and it's going to be. This guy is going to be. He's going to go down now as one of the greats in American literature.
Gentleman in Moscow.
A Gentleman in Moscow. Yeah, it's about a Russian aristocrat Peter Ilyich Rostov, and he's a landed gentry. He's got an income from the state, and he's like a royal person in England, and he comes to Moscow and he's staying in a hotel for an extended period, and they have the revolution. The revolution says there aren't any more gentlemen. There's no more royalty in Russia. It's all the proletariat. Yeah. And they come and they strip him of everything, and they take him out of his beautiful, incredibly well-appointed ballroom-level hotel rooms and stick him basically in a closet and go, you're going to live here for the rest of your life. You may never leave the hotel. You're in exile in this hotel. And he's like, cool, okay. And it's the story of his life after that. Fucking amazing, man.
Wow.
An amazing book.
I'll have to check it out. Speaking of books that they're making into television shows, I have been excited to watch The Three Body Problem. Have you heard of this?
I have. Is it good?
Okay, well, here's the thing. It hasn't come out on Netflix yet. But I started reading the book a long time ago. Somebody recommended it. And it's a very difficult book to read.
Yeah, I had a problem with it.
It's very interesting, but it's very dense, and it's originally in Chinese. So the translation, it works, but you do have to stop, and sometimes the words are a little different, or what do you call it? I don't know. The context is a little weird. So it's a difficult, plus it's about physics and the end of physics and stuff. So it's a dense subject written in a foreign language that's translated in English. So it's a difficult book to read.
Yeah.
But the gist of it is very interesting. So when I heard they were making a show of it, I never actually finished the book. I read probably half of it, and you go on to other things, and I kind of forgot about it.
Isn't the Game of Thrones guys that are doing it?
It may be. I don't know a whole lot about the Netflix. I just heard it was coming out on Netflix. And so I was like really excited about it. And then Paramount Plus, apparently the Chinese made it the Three Body Problem. So the Netflix is, I think, 7 episodes, no more than 10. But the Chinese made a series about it. It's in Chinese, and so subtitled, and it's on Paramount Plus now. So I started watching it, and it's pretty interesting, but it's also one of those shows where you got to sit there and concentrate and watch, which sometimes is difficult for me.
Yeah, I can't scroll. I didn't realize that that there were 2 productions, and that there's a whole Chinese thing.
The Chinese thing, I guess, came out last year.
Yeah, that's the one I thought that you were talking about.
No, there's an American one coming out next month.
I think it's going to be a good year for TV shows and movies. I heard Dune 2 is unbelievable. I heard that it's like life-changingly good.
Really, I've never been a big Dune fan.
Ooh, man!
Did you watch did you watch the last remake that came out? The one that's the prequel to this one. This is Dune 2.
Yeah.
Dune 1, which came out last year, year before?
2 years ago. Yeah.
So
I watched it like 5 times.
All right, and you liked it because I watched
the original. Is it good?
The original Dune that came out in like 1985.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Piece of crap. They should not have let David Lynch anywhere near that. He was the wrong guy for the job. He just made it too ridiculous and stupid. And the fight scene with Sting was so dumb. All of it was dumb. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't watch the new one.
Oh, dude. Not even closely related. The new one is an absolute triumph in adapting a book to the screen. Because I'm a serious Dune fan. I'm a Frank Herbert fan. I love the Dune series. I think that Star Wars ripped it off in every fucking possible way it could have. Without Dune, Star Wars would not have existed. And Frank Herbert didn't need Joseph Campbell to sit next to him while he was writing it like a fucking what's his name did. But the first movie, the one that came out a couple of years ago, oh my God, is it good. It's such a brilliant adaptation, such incredible acting, perfect realization of the book in every way. There was a version of Dune that was almost done called the Jodorowsky version, which was by a French movie maker named Jodorowsky, who was also an illustrator. I forget the guy's name. And it would have been fantastic. And this movie by Denis Villeneuve took some of his direction from that never-made version. The only thing they ever did for the Jodorowsky version was they created a script book. It was basically a graphic novel, and it's this thick, and there's 2 copies of it. And I know that Denis Villeneuve, I think he has one of them. But we watched it again the other night because we're going to go out and watch it on IMAX. We ended up not going. Jesus Christ, what a great fucking movie.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out.
So
I never
good.
actually saw this one. So.
But the second one, from what I've heard, is like one of the best movies ever made.
So you're gonna go see it in the theater still?
We're going to go to IMAX sometime soon. I don't know when because I can never... Planning stuff with my wife is a near impossibility. Yeah. It's just completely crazy.
It's kind of like you can make all the plans you want, but none of them are... Yeah.
A lot of times I just go do things by myself and don't tell her. I have like an account. That's just, it's anonymous, and I watch movies and stuff on it, so that when she hates to watch a movie, if I've already seen it, she feels like it's burdening me or something. She doesn't realize I watch a movie 10 times. I don't care. So I fake watch movies. But I might have to go see it by myself because I don't know when I'm going to get her to do it.
I've also been watching a series called Will Trent.
It's weird, right?
It's very weird. It's totally unrealistic.
What is weird about it?
Well, first of all, everybody is broken in such a way that they could not actually be in the jobs that they're at in real life. I mean, you have the one guy who's a brilliant detective.
The Sherlock.
Read. Yeah, but he can't read. He's just so dyslexic that he can't read the pasta boxes in the store. He would never be able to be a detective.
I don't know, Dave.
And
I don't know, man.
And then you have his girlfriend / another police officer who they grew up together in foster homes and depend on each other. And she's a drug addict who has a sponsor who's also a police officer. So clearly the police department knows that she's a drug addict. And
it's in Louisiana, right?
Georgia.
All right.
They work for the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. So it would be... it's not to say that there are not, drug addicts or alcohol addicts in the police department. It's just that if you get caught more than once, or to the point where they know about it, then they usually will not give you a job of any responsibility.
Yeah, they put you on something easy.
Yeah, and
but the dyslexic thing, I know somebody that has had an entire career as an like a C-level person in the union. All right, they were a union, not an ambassador. What's the word? He was a union boss.
Well, I know plenty.
And he was illiterate until after he retired. An entire career, dude, traveled the world.
Because I do know a lot of dyslexic people who have found workarounds, and they're actually. God, you read Malcolm Gladwell's book. Dyslexic people are much more. If they can beat it, they're much more likely to be top level type of people. They're driven. They have a way of thinking that is non-linear that really benefits them and whatever organization they work for. But the way they make this guy out to be is that he has not, other than he uses a recorder, carries a recorder around so that he can record his notes and stuff. But they never actually say somebody is typing his notes out for him. How is he doing reports? They never
they leave out the details.
Yeah,
it's not a procedural.
It doesn't seem to be that he has anybody doing that in the thing. So he can be as brilliant as possible, but in a bureaucracy, he could never function. So because his boss would spend half the time going, "Where's this report? Where's this report?" You get,
It's a weird show because it's kind of like Sherlock meets Monk. All right, because he's got a lot of tics and obsessions and stuff like that. I watched a lot of it, and then I couldn't go back to it.
Well, I really like the characters, and I like the show, and I think the stories that they write are very interesting. How you reach, A to Z, it's very fun to follow along, and there are arcs that go across where you really start liking these people. You
know who does good police procedurals?
Huh.
Great Britain. On the BritBox channel, there's like 50 cop shows, and they're all incredibly good.
I don't know if I've ever seen it other than Simon Pegg's movies.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Which
Hot
one?
Fuzz.
Hot Fuzz.
Oh my God, what a legendary movie. Now these are TV shows, and they're all about detectives and cops. There's one called Blue Lights. It's about low-level cops, and there's all these ones about detectives, and they're really, really, really good. And they don't let stuff like that happen. Like everything is very logical and realistic, and it makes sense. And I'm obsessed with British cop shows. I have watched probably 30 of them.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'll check some out.
Yeah,
I don't know if I get BritBox. What is that on?
it's on. I get it off of Prime. I just
it's
subscribed on Prime. Yeah.
What else are we watching lately? I've been watching a lot of TV, but a lot of times I watch old TV. Like I'll get up in the morning and I'll make breakfast, and while I'm eating breakfast, I have my phone and I'll watch West Wing because
It's so
I've
good.
seen it so often that literally when I'm done with breakfast, I can just get up and go do. It doesn't suck me in.
Okay, so here's the thing about how much you love West Wing. All right? West Wing is clearly a liberal show. It is very much a liberal democratic show.
Yeah.
All right? The point of view of the writers and the staff is very, very. I wouldn't say it's progressive, but it is fundamentally
classically liberal.
classically democratic liberal, and you love this show.
Well,
And I think it speaks to your ecumenical intellectual attitude.
Well, yeah, I'm a big Martin Sheen fan for one thing, and I'm also a big. They make arguments. I mean, they make legitimate arguments, and they give the other point of view, whether they agree with it or not. I was watching one episode today. They were talking about how he lied about his MS, so Congress was going to censure him and stuff, and they were talking about whether they should accept it and stuff. And he's like, and, you got the president saying, I was wrong. I mean, let's be honest, I was wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't take responsibility enough, and it's like, I wish a politician would really would say that, because that is one thing that has completely gone by the wayside. Is nobody will admit ever that they are wrong.
It's so sad.
Ever.
Yeah.
And it drives me nuts because sometimes you could say, hey, listen, we tried this, it didn't work.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if we want to get into politics, but I was just reading an article.
This is more like theory, though.
Somebody wrote a letter to the Sun-Times today that I happened to see. I don't usually like reading letters because they don't have nothing. But this guy made some good point. They're talking about the no bail system in Chicago. We cut out bail last year. The only way to measure if that's working is how many people are showing up for their court dates after they're let out with no bail, and you can't find that. So, if you have the political clout to get your system in place, let's figure out a way to see if it's working. But if it's not, you'd have to admit you're wrong, and if it is, the other side would have to admit they're wrong. And I think both sides are. Not only will they never admit they're wrong, they don't want to put the other people in a position where they have to admit they're wrong.
Is bail a universal thing? Like, do they have bail in other countries?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
No.
Yeah. I mean, what's the value of bail?
The value of bail is that you are putting something in to guarantee that you will show up when you are supposed to show up. Now, I do know that in other states and other countries, I don't know what their system is of letting somebody out of jail. But I do know that if you are let out and given a court date and you don't show up, then there's punishment for that. And here there's not. So, I mean, you can see a story in the paper every day about people who commit crimes while they're out on bail, and they're never held accountable for the fact that they promised not to commit crimes while they're out on bail. But, I'm a police officer, or a retired police officer, so that annoys me more than anything else. I don't really care. We haven't had a bail system in Cook County for decades.
You haven't had a what?
We didn't charge people for bail in Cook County for decades, hardly ever. So it's not like getting rid of the bail system and the cash bail system in Illinois. The way it worked for almost my entire career was if you arrested somebody for a low-level crime and they couldn't afford bail, what that meant was you held them overnight until they went in front of a judge. And then the judge released them on their own recognizance the next day, unless it was a serious crime. And it's been like that my entire career. So I don't mind the fact that we don't want to charge people money. You can say use whatever couch it within whatever identity politic terms you have. Doesn't matter to me. If you get arrested for a crime and you're taken to the jail and they fill out the reports and then they let you go, or you see a judge and they let you go, whatever. I don't care. My problem is that if you don't show up for your court date, you should be locked up until you have a trial. But they don't do that.
I know that in Florida when I was young, they did do that.
I did do that when I was a kid.
Yeah, because I know I have been in jail because I missed my court date.
Yeah.
You know, and that was just on a, you know, I do think that sometimes, like I went to jail because I missed my court date on a driving on a suspended driver's license.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is that really a jailable offense? You know, do you really need to go to jail for that?
I think that not showing up for court should be a jailable offense.
Yeah, that is disrespectful. I did it because I'm dyslexic, and I was supposed to go on November 12th, but in my mind it was December the 11th.
Oh,
so I swapped the dates, and one day I was in my apartment. I had a garage apartment in Orlando. It was before I met my wife and everything. I was, you know, I had a night job, so I got up really late, like I do now. And so I woke up, and I'm like standing in my apartment. I'm like smoking a cigarette and having a, you know, my little Cuban coffee that I used to make. And I'm like not even fully awake yet. And I look over, and it was a one-room apartment. And so the stairs came up one side of it, and I see antennas coming up my stairs. And then finally a man is standing underneath them. He's a cop, and he's just got like 9 radios. I don't know what it was. And he just turns and looks at me, and I go, hello? And he goes, are you Christopher Grund? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, yeah, I'm taking you to jail. I'm like, can I finish my coffee? He's like, no. I was like, holy crap, what the fuck is going on? And he told me, and I'm like, look at what it was. And he goes, oh yeah. And he goes, well, you're still going to jail. And fucking dumbest experience of my life.
I got the only time I ever got arrested. I got arrested for when I was just telling this story last night. All the kids were over for dinner, but when I was in the Marine Corps, I drove from Chicago. This all started out because I drove from Chicago to California. I bought a car when I was home on leave, drove it out to California, and I was telling. I was making a point to my youngest, who's about to graduate high school. I said, you got to try at some point to go on a road trip with your friends, to go do something.
It's a rite of passage kind of thing.
It's one of the highlights of my life. And I mean, I did it by myself. My older kids, they've gone on trips with their friends. They've gone to Bonnaroo. They've gone to concert things. And they'll tell stories about it too. And I said, I really had a great time. And my wife goes, yeah, but then you got arrested. I didn't get arrested on the trip. Well, what happened was I got pulled over in Texas by a Texas Ranger.
Ooh.
Sun was in my eyes, and I didn't realize how fast I was going, so I got pulled over for speeding. And they gave me a ticket, and I was like, I'll never go to Texas again. What do I give a shit? This is before computers. And so...
Yeah, we're that old.
Yeah. So I never thought it would come back to bite me, but years later... when I was going on a family trip with my serious girlfriend, who then became my wife even after this, and I made a weird turn. He thought I was drunk. He pulls me over. He runs my name, and boom, I got a warrant out from Texas for not paying the ticket. So, and at that time I smoked cigarettes. So I vividly remember this. Is funny. Standing there on the side of the road, handcuffed, and my wife lights a cigarette and puts it in my mouth. I felt like a gangster.
That's so badass.
She was my girlfriend at the time. And
your broad. She was your broad.
She was my dame, my doll. What do you call those?
Mall.
She
was your mall.
And the guys were really cool about it. And I mean, that was when I was planning to go into the police department. So it was like a worrisome moment. And they gave me back my license, and they took me. I didn't even have to do a mugshot. They said, here's a court date. I went to the court date, I paid it, no problem. They were really cool about it. I never even saw the inside of a cell. I sat in the processing room. And this was in Dixon, Illinois. And I went there, I paid the ticket, but I still remember my wife. It stuck with me even though I got arrested. So.
Wait, it wasn't in Texas? It
was here in Illinois. I didn't think it would come back to haunt me. But 5 years later, it did. Which probably they would have found it while I was processing for the police department.
Probably. So it's probably a good thing.
It probably saved my job, my career. I remember, man, they went through your record when you were in the academy and they found all your parking tickets and shit. And they would yank you out of class. You got to pay these parking tickets. And there was one guy in my class who got pulled out and had to pay his mom's parking tickets. And they were like, you got tickets on your record. You're going to have to pay these. You can't have any debt to the city. He goes, I don't have any tickets. What are you talking about? There you go. And they showed it to him. He goes, this was 1968. I was born in 1968. Well, it's your name. You got to pay it. So he had to pay it. They were jagging us about that in the police department.
That's awesome. I mean, it's kind of a hazing thing.
I remember before I went in the Marine Corps, I had a car accident, and I was like literally the Friday before I left for boot camp, and I spun out right up at Ridge, and I knocked over a light pole. All right.
I remember you telling me that.
And never heard nothing about it. The guy told me, well, it was, you got cut off. I'll put you down. It was an accident. Yada yada. Whatever. Didn't even get a ticket. Nothing. But the city sued me for the cost of the light pole. Well, I was in boot camp, and they sent a letter to the house. My sister got it and never gave it to me, and I didn't know nothing about it. So there was a default judgment against me for the cost of this light pole. It was like $800 for the light pole, $600 for the cost of putting it up, something like that. So when I was in the academy, so this is 10 years after this happened, they pulled me out and said, you got to go pay this ticket. So I had to go down there I had a hearing. I said, I want a hearing. And I said, okay. And they said, you owe this money. And I said, well, all right, if I have to pay the cost of labor, fine. If I have to pay the cost of the light pole, then I want the light pole. I said, what? I want the light pole. You have to do it, if it's mine, it's mine. I can sell it for scrap. I can make a little bit of the money back. I want the light pole. They're like, well, we don't have the light pole. I said, well, how can you charge me for it if I'm not getting the light pole? And so they took it off. They only charged me for the labor. That was my one-time winning on to stupid people. Usually you don't win those cases at all.
No, not usually. I have not had that experience. Although most of the times I've been to court, I've been really lucky with my judges. I've had really cool judges almost every time I've been to court. But
the best one I had was I made all my kids, when they got a ticket, at least the first time, go and fight the ticket. Even if they're going to lose. I said, you need to know what the process is.
Yeah.
And you need to understand that sometimes you'll get lucky and you can stand up and say, And so, like, I remember taking my older daughter to the first time, and she explained why she parked where she parked or whatever, and they were like, okay, well, I'm gonna, based on the evidence here, you're at fault, and I'm gonna make you this lady was so sweet. She kind of coached her through the giving her story, explaining it. I sat inside. She wouldn't let me stand up there, but she got her to do the whole thing, and she understood what I was doing. You could tell she understood that I didn't expect her to win, but I wanted her to go through the process. And so the lady's like, okay, well, based on the evidence, it looks like you're liable. So I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make you liable. And you're gonna have to pay the ticket. I just pressed the wrong button. So, you know what? We're going to make it not liable now, and we're going to throw this ticket out because I just pressed the wrong button and made it liable. And so
wink.
I smile. And my daughter, we walk out, my daughter's like, what happened? I said, she did you a favor. She did you a favor.
Yeah.
You were at fault, but she figured it was your first ticket, and she gave you a break.
I think my best arrest story, I've been arrested maybe 3, maybe 4 times. The best
bad
one,
if you can't remember how many.
Yeah, it's bad. The first 2 were because of driving on suspended license, and I didn't do something right. So the third one was for stealing, which was a joke, but it's not a joke. It's still stealing, even if you're doing it as a prank.
Yeah.
And I don't know which one. And then the third one was for having no insurance, out-of-date tag, and out-of-date driver's license. So I worked at Barnes & Noble right over here, and got off my job. It was my day shift, so it's It's at dusk, so the lights on the gas. I stopped to get gas right by my store, lit up like crazy, and the cops that were our security guards were on patrol right there, and they pulled me over at the pumps, right, and they had to arrest me. And so I was put in a car, and people that I worked with could see me, and customers were driving by and could see me. And I went to jail in Skokie. Was handcuffed to the wall, right? They have a ring on the wall. So I'm on a bench and I'm handcuffed to the wall, like in that comic BC, right? Yeah. And there's a girl chained next to me. And I'm like, what are you in for? And she goes, prostitution. And I'm looking at her like, she's really gorgeous, like college girl, right? She's not like crackhead prostitution. Yeah. I think she was hobby prostitute. Oh my God, look who it is.
Hey,
what's happening, man?
What's up, buddy? How are you?
Look at all the weight you lost. Look at that.
I'm down over 100 pounds.
Hot damn, man. Good for you.
How you been, boys?
Good. We're talking about getting arrested.
Oh, shit. Go ahead.
So the hooker's next to you?
Yeah. So she's got to wait for her parents to come in and pick her up, and they don't know why she's in there. I call my house, and I get the answer machine. I'm like, Connie, don't let the kids hear this message. And I wait a minute, and I go, listen, I've been arrested. I'm in jail in Skokie. You got to come get me. So I'm waiting, and I hear them say, there's people here to get you. I'm like, great. So I go out, and I think it's just going to be my wife. No, I get out, and my son, my 9-year-old son, basically kicks the door of the jail open and walks in and goes, I'm here to get my dad. Because my wife walked in with groceries and hit the answer machine button and then kept doing stuff. And my kids are right there. And they were howling with laughter that dad got arrested. So it was one of the great moments. But the one where I was busted for stealing, we were in a Walgreens in the mall, and my friend was like, I bet you can't walk out with those glasses. I'm like, pfft. They don't give a shit. They're not paying attention. So I just put them on. I put on sunglasses, paid for my other stuff, and walked out. Well, I just happened to do that on a day when the cops were monitoring that Walgreens because they'd had a lot of thefts. Busted my ass right there. And I was a total dick about it. Total dick about it because my friends were there.
Were you?
I was very young. I was in my early 20s. And I was being a dick because my friends were there, so I was trying to be cool, And I was a skate punk at the time, so I was dressed like a complete fucking maniac. I think I had a mohawk, I'm not sure. And it was just ridiculous. And then I went to jail, and let me tell you, county in Orlando, Florida is no fucking joke, man. Yeah, I didn't understand what jail was, and I don't ever fucking want to go back because at least in prison you get a private room.
I got caught stealing baseball cards 2 days before my 12th birthday. And they couldn't get a hold of my mother.
Fucking reprobate.
So they called my father, who stopped at the Osco right there at Irving and Lincoln, on his way to work in uniform. I'm like, oh, God. And he was livid, my dad's he's a real easygoing, laid-back guy.
Until.
And he was like.
I can't imagine your dad angry.
Yeah, he was angry. And then, we were in front of the security. And then we're walking out. And he goes, what'd they do? Bust you going out the front door? I'm like, yeah. and I thought...
So it's all just a show.
He's being cool about it now. So I'm like, okay. But no, I lost all birthday presents, all birthday activities. I was grounded for a month. It was like him and my mom were on the same page when it came to that. Boy, I'll tell you. And but I didn't get arrested. It was for a couple of baseball cards,
Crime is crime, Dave.
That's right.
All right?
There's no small crime. There's no small claims. Well, we're already at an hour, believe it or not.
No way.
Yeah.
Hey, listen. I got one last thing.
All right.
On March 19th, I have an interview with the head of the department for Oxford University Creative Writing course.
Is it a Zoom interview?
Yeah.
Or you have to fly to England?
No, it's a Zoom. And it's just to basically check me out, make sure that I'm not crazy and that I can afford it and that I have a computer and that I know what I'm in for. But apparently, as long as I don't burst into flame or mispronounce a word, I'm in.
You know what? I'll walk behind you in a Speedo just back.
Fuck off. That's exactly. Right now, I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to do it. I can't do it in my office because there's like boxes and. You know what? I'm going to go to the lodge. I'm going to do it in the library at the lodge. Yeah.
Yeah, with books behind you.
Yeah, exactly. Wink, wink. Yeah.
You should do it with the Oxford English Dictionary.
I wish I could, man. We're probably gonna buy one.
All right. So, well, that's. I mean, we're at the end. It's surprising. It went by fast.
Such a boring
We
show.
didn't have to vamp at all. We just talked about stupid ass shit.
Completely useless.
All right. So thank you for joining us on Jeremiah Creek, formerly B Cop Scott.
Formerly Perfectly Harmless Radio. Formerly Dave and Chris Show.
And a fade to the logo.